certain decisions, and so on. So that way everyone sort of knows the rules of the game. Potential customers might want to read it if, let's say, they're industrial customers. But that makes sense, right? Because let's say the customer is buying from you, the entrepreneur, computer system. They want to make sure that you are going to be around. You're not going to open your business in 6 months, go to business. Because then the customer's stuck with this computer system. And no one to support them, no upgrades, none of this kind of stuff. So they want to make sure you're viable. Okay. Remember, that's sort of like that Michael Porter stuff. We're talking about buyer power. I'm sorry, that would be supplier power. I'm sorry. Because it would be the supplier, you, the entrepreneur, would have sort of a lock-in on your customers. So the customer then would worry about the loss of their buyer power. Key employees, again, why should I leave? Why should I let myself be recruited by you? And also, at some point, let's say your business is profitable, starting to grow, other people might want to buy you out, either merge with you or just straight out buy you out. So they might want to read your plan to sort of investigate whether it is a good investment for them. Okie dokie, so here I have some mistakes to avoid in writing business plans. And I divided it up with some potential mistakes. And I believe, are these other mistakes? This is the reasons why. So these are the reasons that correspond to the key points here. The first is lack of skin in the game. This is that problem where basically the founders of the company are not putting up their own money. And the reason why this is a problem is that basically it sends a message. It says that basically if you, the founder of the new business, don't believe in your idea enough, if you're not passionate and committed enough to put your own money on the line, so to speak, then why should someone else? And related to this is the fact of what's called asymmetric information. Right? The outside investor might only have information based on the business plan they read from you. But you, the founder, should, at least in theory, know everything about the business. You should be intimately involved. The investor might not be quite as intimately involved. So the people who have the more information, they're not willing to buy in. That sends kind of a message to the investor. If the insiders don't want to put money on this, then maybe they know something I don't know that hasn't been told to me. So they tend to back away. So this is basically sending a signal by putting your own money in to an outside investors. These people really believe in this idea. They're going to work hard for it. They're committed, and they're not hiding some skeletons in the closet, so to speak, from the investor. Citations, right? It's important that we have hard evidence, right? We don't want to read a bunch of guesswork, right? And you can often tell when people are making stuff up because they use phrases like "I believe" or "I feel." What we're trying to say here is "I know," right? I've read this report and that report from very credible sources, and they all are suggesting certain trends in one direction. And then you have the citation, citation, citation. It makes for a more credible argument. Okay. Some more possible mistakes. This again, remember I talked about in the organizational feasibility section about product market scope as one of those 3 dimensions of a core strategy.
Trying to mark too broad, but you have too broad of a market product scope, or product market scope. Right? This is basically trying to be all things to everyone. You're not focusing. In other words, what they're saying here is sort of a backwards way of saying it's important to focus in and have a strong target market. Don't try to be in 17 different markets. You'll face lots of other competitors and you don't have enough resources. You spread yourself too thinly. Another classic problem, again, is the optimism bias, overly aggressive financials.
right? This is the idea of, everything's going to be really profitable. We'll be making, 97%, profit margins in the first month, and all these, everything's wonderful. So as investors, they tend to sort of take this into consideration when they read your report. So don't be shocked when they think you're exaggerating up, okay? That's sort of how it goes. It's very unlikely to have entrepreneurs to continuously exaggerate down and say everything's going to be crappy, nothing's going to work, because it makes no sense. If the entrepreneur already thinks everything's going to be really bad and nothing's going to work, then why are they going ahead with the project, right? It doesn't make any sense. Sloppiness is another thing. Yeah, you really don't want to undermine your credibility by having a sloppy, messy report. This involves things like changing all of the formatting. So one page it's one font, the next page is another font. One page has indents, the next page it doesn't. Whiteout, handwritten comments. Oh my, don't do that. The other thing here is you want to avoid, too much slang, and technical jargon is not really that good, because a lot of the investors don't necessarily have science degrees or math degrees or even marketing degrees. So using a lot of the insights or slang terms that are appropriate, let's say if a marketer talks to another marketer or an engineer talks to another engineer, might not be appropriate. Because you'll just sort of alienate the audience. Remember, the purpose here, if you're doing an oral presentation, for instance, or in this case, the written report, you don't want it to alienate your people that you're trying to communicate with. Okay, so that's why we don't want to get too fancy schmancy with our words. What have I done here? Qualitative characteristics. So this is just some sort of general advice from a qualitative versus quantitative perspective, right? The first thing is business plans should not be all over the place, right? You don't want to be posting these online because they could have confidential information in them, right? They're talking about your core business strategy or business model, so you don't want to make it easier for your competitors to copy you. Good structure is important. This is because people who tend to read business plans all the time sort of form expectations. They sort of expect to see an appendix at the end. They sort of expect to see an executive summary near the beginning. They expect to see certain things there, and if they're not there, then you force the reader to have to go on sort of a treasure hunt. You don't want that. You want information to be easily accessible and to sort of follow the conventions of business plan writing, so that way it becomes easier for the reader to sort of find what they're looking for. You don't want to make it hard for them to find the information. You want it to be complete, so you don't want to have areas missing. Or you don't want the investor to say, well, geez, I wonder why they never talked about marketing. That's kind of an important thing. So you want it to be complete, you don't want it to be sloppy, so you want to look professional. You want to be excited, you want to be passionate, you want to communicate that you really believe in this idea. It looks professional, and it's easy to find information, right? Because remember, the readers are making decisions, and oftentimes it's, should I give you money? So they want to be able to find certain pieces of critical information. So you want to make sure it's all there, that's the completeness, and it's easy to find. Okie dokie. So basically, I'm going to quickly try to walk through the different parts of the business plan, how it's sort of structured. Now, there is some flexibility in the structure. Again, this is not like written in stone. Okay? This is not, some sort of immutable laws of the universe. However, there are, and if you go look, for instance, different textbooks, each one is slightly different. One of you students asked me a question on email there about how the textbook slightly differs from these slides I've given you, and that's true. I looked in all my different textbooks, the one we use with you in first year, the second year textbook, the third year textbook, the fourth year textbook, the MBA textbook, and they're all slightly